Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to learn how to design and fly, well, not fly for this tutorial, but we're going to learn how to design and build Strek. The next tutorial I will fly them and kill dragons. Okay, so you might notice there's no music playing. You know, designing Strek is just not epic and adventurous and fun, so I just can't play music and feel good about it, so no music, sorry. Alright, so let's get started. In this case, I'm in my castle right now. I'm using an R&D, research and development garage, which is where you actually design your Streks. First of all, you do not need a castle, and you do not need a max level R&D to design Streks. You just need it max level if you want to design all the Streks available to you. So for this tutorial, we're just going to use my castle one, just because I really just like to build the best of the Streks, because I'm just picky. Alright, so let's design, well first let me explain to you the three types of Streks. You've got your single-seater Streks. Think of those as interceptors, really light aircraft with usually one or two machine guns. Some have four that are very good for taking out other Streks or small targets, but they are also super flimsy and they die really quick. You've got your double-seater Streks. Now you're getting into what you might want to think of as a fighter bomber. So it is also pretty darn nimble, pretty fun to fly, and good at killing dragons, good at killing other ships. Even some of them hold bomb carriers and missile launchers. The cool thing about the double-seaters is they have rear guns. Rear guns will automatically shoot at dragons, unlike standard Streks, which you actually have to tell to attack dragons in order to shoot at them. Otherwise, they just sort of fly around being useless. Last but not least, we've got the five-seater Streks. Those are the closest thing you're going to get to a bomber. The Jeff is one of the more popular bombers. Bombers are great for dropping 50, 20, 10, 100-pound bombs on bases. If you're PvPer and you're looking to wreck people's bases and take over, this is what you're going to want right here. For today's tutorial, we are going to design a double-seater Strek. However, if you're in a mammoth, if you're in a merchant, you need to use single-seater Streks, but in a mammoth, you can go up to double-seater. And as you've seen from my other tutorials, I really like mammoths. Okay, so we're going to go to our research and development garage, assuming we've already built it. We're going to click over here. Oh, and don't forget telephones. Make sure you have a telephone so you don't have to drag resources into this. Alright, we're going to click on our double-seater Strek. You've got three here. You've got the Player, which it says sufficiently maneuverable and reliable double-seater. The Lecker, fast and solid double-seater. It is considered the best in its class. And the Enro, ordinary, unremarkable double-seater Strek. We kind of agree with these, myself and some of my guys who design Streks, that the Lecker is indeed the better of the Streks. So we're going to design a Lecker. Cool thing about designing is it costs nothing to do. There's no cost to this, so you can mess around with this stuff all day long. And the designing system for Streks is super fun. Not very intuitive, it could definitely use improvement, but it's just cool that you can custom design something. That's one of my favorite things to do in MMOs. One of the things I liked about Star Wars Galaxies, for example, way back in the day, I'm showing my age, was everything was handcrafted, everything had its own serial number, and it was unique, and it had its own statistics based on who built it and what they put into it. So you can do that with Streks, which is really fun. You can't currently do that with ships. I really hope that that changes one day. Alright, so let's go down the list of what everything means. First, you can change the name of your Strek to your own special name. So let's call it the Lek Tutorial. How about that? Engine model. Engine model. So we can go through all these different engine models. The higher you go, you'll notice as I click down, see down here on my cruising speed and maximum speed, and the percentage of engine being used at cruising speed is going down. Oh, actually the percentage is going up because the smaller engine I put on it, the harder the engine has to work to lift the plane into the air. So for the purpose of today's tutorial, let's see, what's a good engine to put in our fighter? Well, why don't we go look in our Forge shop real quick, see what engines are available to me to build. I can build an M1 390, M2 650, M3 1040, and an M4 1690, and they are cheaper as you go down. Let's go for the second best, M3 1040. We're going to click on that. We're going to go to Lecker, M3 1040. Where are you at? There it is. So we're going to leave that engine the way it is. Planks, plywood panels, and sheet iron. These represent what your Strek is made out of. Planks are considered the weakest material, but also the lightest, basically wooden planks. Plywood panels are a little bit stronger, a little bit heavier. And sheet iron, of course, if your plane is made out of metal, it's obviously going to be heavier and it's going to be stronger. Now we go down to the wing area. The wing area represents the lift. The larger it is, the more lift your plane has, but it will generally go a little bit slower. In my experience, this is almost always maxed out because you want maximum lift even if it means missing a few miles per hour, unless you're building a Strek for the purpose of doing those races that the GMs put on. Angle of the wing attack, as you increase this one here, it's going to decrease your speed, but it's also going to give you a little bit more lift as well, similar to the wing area. You've got your aileron, rudder, and elevator area. The larger this number is, the more maneuverable your aircraft will become. And you might tell yourself, well, then I'm going to max this out. I'm going to make it 100 and, I think 20 is the max. Yeah, 120% on everything. Well, that sounds good at first, but if you've ever self-piloted a Strek, you'll know that the piloting is a little weird. It's not as easy as using, say, a joystick or even holding right mouse button and flying around. So if it's overly maneuverable, you're going to find yourself barrel rolling into the ground if you're not careful. Usually you want to leave this at 100%. If you plan on the AI only flying your Streks and not flying them yourself, you could probably pop this up to 110 pretty safely. And since my next tutorial I'm going to fly one of these, I'm going to keep it at 100% so I don't kill myself. Next down is the basic stabilizer angle. And as we increase this, it increases the speed of our ship. However, it's not really for increasing speed. What this does is the higher it is, the more it pulls your aircraft into the air. So if you have an extremely heavy ship, I keep saying ships, if you have an extremely heavy fighter, you want to bring this number pretty high because it will pull it up and compensate for that weight. Heavy would be anything from 2,000 to 5,000 if you can even get that heavy. We're going to make one that's about 2,000 if I remember correctly, so we'll go about 50%. It's pretty safe. Amount of fuel is pretty self-explanatory. The more fuel you have, the longer it can go. You'll see as I increase this, my plane can go a whole lot further. Holding shift down and clicking on any of these increases it by 10 times what just clicking on it will do. See? 100, 200, 300. Whereas if I left click, it's just by units of 10. Okay, we'll come back to that. Sorry about that. Skype just decided to randomly open for some reason. Okay, now we need to focus on this, our weapons. Now, if you're building a Strek, the first thing you want to do is you just want to throw every weapon at it and have the best weapons and just be flying a Strek with these awesome machine guns and ripping through dragons and every other person. That sounds wonderful, but that's not possible. And I'm going to show you why. So this Strek comes with a rear gunner, that's this guy right here. He is mount point 1. It's hard to read, but this is 1. So first let's select our rear gun. And let's say I want to do the 110 machine gun 1200, which is the most powerful, most high caliber machine gun there is until you get to cannons. And by the way, if you didn't already know, the number right here, the dash number, indicates how many rounds a minute it fires. So we want to get the 1200 M3, the best of the best. This is your bomb rack. We're going to skip that for now. Let's go get another 110 M3. And one more. You can already see that my blueprint has grayed out. I can't even build this thing. Okay, 3 machine guns. We're going to skip the bomb rack for this tutorial. Bombing is something I personally need to work on more before I try to write a tutorial on it, but it's super, super fun. Be aware. Okay, so we've got 3 110 1200s. That is one gun short of what you can fit on a noob balloon. That's a lot of armament right here for a tiny Strek. And not to mention it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns, because two of these are pairs of guns. So this is actually 5 guns. It's even more than a noob balloon can hold, and it's just a tiny little Strek. However, it's not letting me build this Strek. Reason being is not because my Strek is too heavy, because right here it's 1696 out of 3010 possible. So I'm underweight, I'm good there, but my cruising speed, 218 at 88%. This is the number that matters for everything. This is the number when you design a Strek, you will be fighting with this number constantly to find the perfect equilibrium. 88% means that my engine has to go at 88% just to cruise. Not even to go fast, just to cruise and not fall out of the sky. That is not acceptable to the game. The game insists that I have 60% and no more. Less is even better. So even if I were to get the absolute best engine, I still can't, well, actually, I can, but it's going to be extremely slow. It's going to have to go super fast just to stay aloft, and it's going to need Imanol. They call it ester, but it's actually ether. They just must have forgotten the translation here. So I can put the best of the best engine on it, but you have to get a supercharger to make this engine. You have to have a special facility to make it. It's very expensive to make. It's very heavy, and I mean, you can do it if you got the money, but we're going to try to be a little bit more economical today. Okay, so we're going to go back down to our M3 1040, which definitely cannot handle these 110s. So I'm going to change over to 140 300s. You'll notice that the NPC generated Streks that you can buy in places like Citadel usually have 300 variants of guns, typically 140s or 150s. Okay, so there's our standard old-fashioned 140 machine gun, Blizzard 300s. Our ship is getting a little bit lighter. We're getting a little bit closer, and I believe it's 70%, not 60. I apologize. Let's do one more. Okay, so we're down to 3 140 machine gun Blizzards with 80 rounds of ammo. That is definitely not going to be enough ammo, because you got to remember 300 rounds a minute means I have enough ammunition in each of these guns to last 1 minute of constant fire. Now these two, third and fourth ones, they won't be shooting constantly, but my rear gunner will be shooting most of the time if there's an enemy nearby. So we usually want to give him quite a bit of ammo compared to the others. 400 rounds are good for these, 640 is good. You can go into the thousands, but I'm a bit more conservative. We still can't fly. We're at 76%. So first, let's increase the wing area to max. Look at that, we're so close, 71%, almost there. Angle of the wing attack, and we've hit it. Let's see here, if I increase it a little bit more, it's gonna speed me up on max speed a tiny bit and lower my cruising speed. So this is probably pretty good. 2.1 is your max. Now that I have 2.1, I have maximum lift. I can actually put even more ammo and fuel. Well, we have pretty good ammo, so let's focus on fuel. This can fly for 17 minutes. According to this, the range is 28 miles. In perfect conditions it might be, but this thing's going to be looping and flying all over the place, so it's not really 28 miles unless you hop out of your plane in your Strek and make a beeline straight. Let's put a little bit more fuel on it. And now we're sitting on 30 minutes of fuel. Remember, maxing everything out is not the necessary thing you need to do. It might sound like, oh, I got to get maximum everything, but you also got to remember if one of these holds 180 fuel and you're in a mammoth with 16 streks, that's over 1600 fuel, closer to 2000 fuel every time you refuel everything. That's going to get expensive super, super quick. Okay, so we're at 61%. We've got enough fuel to last for about 30 minutes. We've got enough ammunition to last for about 2 minutes of a fight, a non-stop fighting. It usually isn't non-stop, so you're okay there. And no cargo. Cargo can pick up things like crystals and whatever. You can land your Strek at a base and pick things up. Really, I don't recommend any cargo. I think Streks for cargo is kind of silly. It's easier to just fly your balloon somewhere and pick up 1,000 times more than your Strek could ever hope to hold. And we're good here. We're all good there. Okay, so last but not least, we've got some percentage to spare. So let's get it right up to the minimum. We're going to increase the weight of our Strek. You'll notice as I drag more sheet iron onto it, the speed is increasing very quickly, but so is my cruising speed. And there we go. So this Strek has just gone from being a fairly agile interceptor to being a pretty slow tank in the air. 70%, I'm right up against the limit. It's over 2,000 weight, which means if you're putting 16 of these things on your mammoth, that's 2,000 times 16. I believe that's 30, I don't know, 35. It's a little bit more. It's like 36. Okay. Or 32 plus a little bit more. So 32,000 weight. There's a lot of weight in Streks, but they do pack quite a punch. And we're right up against the limit. We can't really do anything else with our Strek. In this case, we're going to go with more sheet iron just because we can. Just because it's a tank in the sky. We're all done. Let's rename the name real quick. Tutorial Lecker is good to go. And oh, by the way, you can double check to see what type of fuel that your Strek uses. Right down here, it uses Imanol. 26 minutes of fuel now that we've increased the weight of it, so we've reduced the length that our ship can fly for. We've reduced its overall cruising speed, but we've majorly increased the maximum speed. Having a streamlined metallic hull means that your ship is your fighter is gonna go a lot quicker. So we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and finish the blueprint. And where did it go? It went right here into the warehouse of our hangar. Got a bunch of other clan members, different designs that they've come up with. And here is our tutorial lek. We can click on it, and once we click on the blueprint, we can create one. However, it says that I am missing machine guns to make this. I have all my base materials. I even have an engine that I made earlier, but I need to make machine guns. This is not enough by 5, so let me make 5 1-40 300s. By the way, 140 300s can be made in a basic forge shop. You don't need to upgrade this to make these. And you don't need those special drill bits or anything to make them either. 140 machine gun, Blizzard 300s. Takes a very small amount of resources, but a ton of time, as you're about to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is kind of why you see machine guns for sale for 10 plus gold, because most people will fast forward this process, which I will do for this tutorial. And it's 4 gold per gun. Otherwise, you're looking at an entire overnight just to make enough guns for a single Strek. No thanks. This is why a lot of people build many forge shops or many arsenals or what have you, because if you're running 10 at once, then really it's 3 hours to make 10 rather than 30 hours to make 10. Okay, so we've got everything we need for our tutorial Strek. We're going to click on the blueprint. Here is our Strekolet, 2 hours and 6 minutes to create. It's going to cost 19 board, 173 plywood, and a ton of sheet iron, at least for a Strek, because of course we made this guy pretty heavy on the sheet iron. There it goes, 2 hours and 6 minutes. We're going to fast forward that for 3 gold. And if I look at my warehouse, it's not there. However, if I look in the hangar, there's my tutorial Strek. Now I could just drag that either over to my hangar or right onto my ship. I'll put it in the hangar this time. There it is. And as you saw in my previous tutorial about putting Streks on ships, you just click on your ship. There it is right there. Now it's going to remain floating above the base, sort of a ghost of it. We're going to take our Lek, we're going to drag it onto our Mammoth, and there it goes. Now in my Mammoth I've got 1 extra Strek. I named my other one Dragon Slayers. All we have left to do, which I covered in another tutorial, is to refuel and to rearm. It comes with no fuel or ammunition. That's all up to you. All I need is 1-40s, and I'm in all to refuel it. So I'm going to do that, and my next tutorial will be dragon fighting in a Strek, which is not easy.